Harrison Steeve, and it's my pleasure to be with you today to talk to you a little bit about tying terrestrials and how to fish them. Terrestrials have been a big part of my life for as long as I can remember. They've produced for me when nothing else is produced. They've produced probably more bigger fish than anything in my fly boxes. In particular, I want to talk this morning a little bit about one group, ants. I like to fish ants. I found that they're extremely effective. They're very, very easy to tie. You can do all sorts of different types of ants, different colors, different sizes. They've all proved to be effective. One thing you will notice is that I tie a lot with foam and I tie a lot with synthetic materials. I find that foam is durable. It comes in many, many different colors. It's a very versatile material to do flies with, particularly the terrestrials. It lends itself very well to that sort of thing. It also makes them very easy to tie. So we'll pay a little attention to the synthetics and how they play an important role in designing and tying terrestrials and in fishing the terrestrials. One thing I do want to point out is in front of me is this little camera here. And I have to work around this to show you what I'm doing here, but it's going to give you a great idea as to the perspective of this fly from my vantage point, which I think is very important when you're trying to learn how to tie these patterns. So because of this little camera, you will see exactly what I'm seeing here. And I think that will be of great benefit to you. So I want to start out with ants, and this little pattern here in particular is one that I enjoy tying and enjoy fishing. It's proved to be a good producer over the years. I fish it a lot, and we'll just start with this one. If you notice this, it looks a lot like the McMurray ant. Now, I like the McMurray ant. It's a great pattern, but it's got some problems. It's fragile. The bodies cost a fortune, and you'll get the same results fishing this one. So with that in mind, let's start on this little pattern here. This is tied on a number 16 hook, standard dry fly hook. We'll stick one of those in the vise, and we're ready to go. Now what I use for the bodies on these little ants, and we call these a hotspot ant, and you'll see that when we get to the end of this, just exactly why it's called a hotspot ant. These are little foam cylinders. They come in different diameters, and I used the two smallest diameters to tie these ants. They are marketed by Dale Clemens shop in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and they come in, as you can see, a lot of different colors, a lot of different sizes. I'm going to use this cinnamon color today to tie this particular ant because that's the one we started out with. That was what was sitting in the vise. This is probably one of the easiest patterns you'll ever see. All we have to do, and you'll have to pardon me, I'm going to put these magnifiers on. Just attach the thread to the shank of the hook and cover the shank of the hook with thread. Trim that thread away, get rid of the excess. Then I'm going to take this one little cylinder here, and I'm just going to tie this right down on the top of the shank of the hook. And we're going to bring the thread right up to the eye of the hook, back just a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch or so. Lay that foam down so that the front end lies over the eye of the hook and tie it down. Then I'm going to continue the thread wraps rearward. Cover about the middle half of the hook shank, wrap the thread forward. Make sure everything's tied down good. You can put some pressure on this foam. It's not going to cut easily. And I'm going to come over and clip that off, right about in this area here. You can see how easy it is to do the body. There's nothing to the body on this ant. Just continue your thread wraps, cover that foam up good, and then bring the thread back to a little bit past the point of the middle of the hook. Most of my ants I use saddle hackle on. You can buy saddle hackle now. You don't have to buy the whole saddle. You can buy just a few feathers if you want to. Make sure they match the size of the ant that you're tying or any fly that you're tying. This is for a size 16 hook. Tie that in and then simply give it a couple of wraps. And once you give it a couple of wraps, just tie it off. Trim away that excess in the front. I think I hit that camera just then. And we'll trim this out. and then whip finish the thread. You can't ask for an easier pattern. What did that take? Just a couple of minutes to do this thing. It's very easy to do, doesn't take any time at all, and this is why we call it a hot spot ant. This is easy shaped sparkle body. It's probably the same thing you can buy in a store that's fabric paint for kids' t-shirts and things like that. I like this because it dries very, very quickly. Some of the other stuff you've got to wait 24 hours or so to allow it to dry. And all I'm going to do is just put a little spot of this right up here on the head. And you're through. The average person can probably tie a couple of dozen of these in an hour once you get going. And you can see that thing, 30, 40 feet away with that little hot spot on the top there. I think you'll agree with me, that's probably one of the easiest patterns you'll ever see. And you can do it in black, you can do it in yellow, you can do it in red. This live body foam comes in all sorts of different colors. You might also want to try Rainy Riding's foam because she produces a good foam that's about the same size as this, and it's available in colors other than what you can get from Dale Clement. So don't be afraid to try any color on these. I fish them in red, fish them in yellow, green. Just try anything. You never know what the fish is going to take. Very easy pattern to do and very, very effective. I've caught a lot of fish on this pattern. Places you wouldn't expect it to work, it works just fine. One thing about ants is they're everywhere. They're always falling in the stream, and you can count on them day in and day out as being one of the major producers for trout.